Hey guys, and welcome. In the last two parts, we took over most of the unfinished business that we had. We took back the de jure lands of the Vale. The only thing that slipped through our fingers was Old Oak. I wish. Damn you. But that, I guess that can be part of the story. You know, the highs, the lows, it's all a part of it. Then again, we could attack Red Lake right now. Nah, we can't. But yeah, so there's a few things we missed here and there, but overall, I've loved this series, and I feel like for this part, we're going to have to end it. And to end it, what we're going to do, we're going to go through kind of the history and the characters we've been through, and kind of reminisce on what's happened. It's been a long series. This will be the 60th part, which I think again is a good place to finish it. And we've been through a lot as the Osgrey families. I feel like we kind of lost our way. From the original plan, it was kind of a small plan, but we've kind of really diverged from that massively. Not in a bad way, in a nice way. I like that when that happens sometimes. When you play a game like this, you can kind of always set your own goals. It's always nice sometimes when things just get out of hand and completely go a different way than you planned in the first place. And I think the Osgrey series that we've had here is a great example of this. But I think what we'll do, we'll reminisce first, and then we'll do our last business. We need to marry off my two children to people that can, hopefully be allies or something, or maybe just be good marriages for my children to continue on the Osgrey line for Mark Osgrey. Mark Osgrey is not going to be a great Osgrey, I don't think, but he's 49. He's not going to live that much longer anyway. His son is going to be more of a deciding factor, though I don't think his son would be a great king either. So maybe it's good that we don't have to see what they're going to do. But let's go back. Back. So I don't have the editing tools to be able to do some sort of like rewind. Sorry. But yeah, let's go back to where it all began. Back to Standfast. So here we are, Standfast. This little castle, one of the smallest counties, I think, when it comes to actual men and stuff, in the whole of Westeros. Eustace Osgrey. Obviously, as we stated at the very beginning of the series, the Osgreys were a family that had fallen hard from grace. The checkered line used to be something to be proud of. The defender of the North March and of the Reach against enemies such as the Lannisters or whoever came across the Reach. But they'd had a few difficulties when it came to rulers and people above them, and they kind of joined wrong sides and stuff. And yeah, they lost a lot of land. First they lost the North March, then they even lost Cold Moat, their original ancestral seat, and were left only with Standfast. And Eustace Osgrey was the man who kind of was the last of his line. His 3 sons all died in the battle for the Blackfyre rebellion. All gone. In one battle, his whole lineage was gone. Put in danger. He's an old man. He had nothing left. Luckily for him, he managed to obviously make amends with Lady Rowena Webber. Thanks to, I guess, the work of the Tall family, who we did give Darren down. The Tall family. Thanks to them, you have to. It's a really important event when you think about it. The fact that the Osgrey, the old man, married the young Webber lady. That allowed us then to get Cold Moat back. It secured our lineage. And, it was a great thing for Eustace. He was so lucky. He was an old man. Who was going to marry him? But that kind of link for his son brought them together. Their memories of him brought them together. And for us, we managed to have 3 children to continue the line. And that, of course, was... oh, no, was that her? No, was that my first wife? I can't remember. I think she was the first wife, but I think we didn't have her. She was already born at the beginning, but she's not dead, yeah. It's hard to remember going all the way back, but the most important thing is these 2 children. These are the ones that we had with our Webber wife. It could have been a disaster. We could have started out the game and not had any kids with the Lady Webber, and our line would have been dead. That would have been it. The whole game, gone. The whole series, gone. It could have ended in maybe like 2 parts or 3 parts. But we got ridiculously lucky with 2 boys, especially. And so the series has gone on for 60 parts. Very happy about that. That was my biggest worry at the beginning of the series, was the fact that he could just die during sex or something stupid, but yeah. And his first son was, shall we say, a very interesting man. For a lot of characters that we've been throughout our different series I've done many series in Crusader Kings 2, and especially in the Game of Thrones mod. Tristram was definitely one of the ones I remember quite well. Tristram the Brute. He definitely developed more and more into a brute as he got older. You can see from this picture, probably not the nicest of men, but maybe that's what we needed. We needed a man like him to push on the Osgrey family. And obviously we did get the North March back in kind of a lucky way. Luckily for us, a lot of people did not like the fact that the Rowan family had 2 high lordships. And so we were able to get that given to us, which is quite nice. So we were lucky, I think, in that regard. But it was inevitable. We were always going to go for that, so it just got to us a bit sooner than I expected. We kind of stumbled upon things with Tristram quite quickly, and instantly became kind of important to the Reach, if I remember correctly. I say it's hard for me to remember, because you got to remember, this was a long time ago, actually. We didn't play many characters, actually. We actually didn't control many characters, but it was a long series, because they all lived quite old. You can see here, he lived to 56. He lived for quite a long time. And we started as him quite young, if I remember correctly. And obviously, because of my holiday I took, there was a whole month when I didn't put out many videos. So with that, there's been actually quite a while since we actually were him, when it comes to actually our time as well. He was strong, he was perceptive, naturally gifted. He was a naturally gifted man, and we were, again, so lucky to get this combination. Obviously, Eustace was attractive and strong, and Rohanna was also attractive, but the fact he got, perceptive was pretty nice. He developed into a skilled fighter. He was a pretty good fighter. He was very good when it came to leading men, and also not too bad at intrigue. He was a torturer, cruel, proud, cynical, lustful, possessed, drunk at the end of his days as well. He developed, the further we got, into a more horrible, horrible man, but he was hard-working. He may not be the nicest of men, but he worked hard for what he got. And I really enjoyed playing as him. He's one of those characters, when you get to play as him in the way that I play these games and in my series, he's the type of guy you want as me. As a person who plays this type. I don't know how many people play the way I play CK2 when it comes to on YouTube or doing Let's Plays, but he's the type of guy you want to get. This is the type of guy you want to get. It can make for some interesting things. It can be complete disaster because he's so cruel, but it can also be interesting because you kind of have a lot of leeway on how you want to gain power, and he gave that to us. Really enjoyed playing as him. He was married, obviously, to Denise Flowers, the bastard Targaryen girl who was a genius. So again, a great combination for us. The daughter of Brandon Blood Raven. Very nice man, obviously. That kind of her being his bastard daughter is kind of funny, seeing as he was a bastard. But a very good marriage for us to get into. And gave us that link into having dragon's blood and the Targaryens. And kind of, that was always a big problem for us. A big problem that we had was, who do we side with? Targaryens or, the Blackfyres? Obviously, Eustace was definitely a supporter of the Blackfyres. He felt the Blackfyres, the son, is it Daemon Blackfyre? I always forget which one it is. I can go have a look in a second. But he always thought that he was obviously the man meant to be king. His father obviously wanted him to be king. He would have been a great king, he says. And it's funny that always then, because then we got married to a bastard of a Targaryen, his son. Obviously, that wasn't decided by Eustace. I don't think. I think we decided that ourselves. So obviously, Eustace probably wouldn't have done that, if I remember correctly. But later on, when Tristram got older, that's what he married, and that gave us that link with the Targaryens and made things a bit more murkier. Because, obviously you got, Duncan the Tall. He has that relationship with the Targaryens. He likes the Targaryens, with Egg and whatnot. So it kind of made it really difficult to decide on which side we're on at that time. And it's funny because at the moment, there's actually a rebellion for Maegor Blackfyre against Rhaegar Targaryen. So our series is ending with a Targaryen versus Blackfyre war. Which that's always been there in the background, the Targaryen and Blackfyre, and kind of Tyrell. Tyrell's kind of got in there, but it's always been about the Targaryens and Blackfyres, really. And obviously a lot of people have been mentioning there's a lot of links between Rhaegar and Blood Raven, with their green dreams and whatnot. There's kind of got that link there, Targaryen green dreams. He also has old gods. I can't remember if Bloodraven... Yeah, Bloodraven was Old God, yeah, I was feeling he was. So there's that link there between them. They're quite similar in that regard. So Tristram was definitely an interesting one to have. Obviously, you got his brother as well, who we didn't get to play as, Sir Paxter Osgrey. He was given Standfast, obviously in honor of the fact that that's where we began. We wanted to obviously make sure Osgrey controlled that. Paxter wasn't a great man, yeah, he was a skilled fighter, but he was a craven as well. He's really only good at diplomacy due to his fashionableness, but he could fight if he needed to, just he didn't want to fight. And we didn't really get to see much of him. He kind of just stayed in Standfast, seemed to be quite normal, nothing too special. Had some different kids with his Grim wife. The Grims actually did play quite big roles in the end, actually. They got quite involved in the Reach. But yeah, so that was his two kids. Kind of normal Paxter, but Tristram, God, he was a brute. And that name was just, it's really weird because that name was just perfect for me. I don't know how to describe him apart from saying he was a brute. And then we come to Tristram's children. Obviously, Tristram had 3 children. He had Malon the Merciless. Now, Malon, I think he was my favourite. I think when I've gone through all the Osgreys we've been through so far, I think Malon was my favourite. Now, I'm going to go into why in a second, but there was just some badass moments and just things that were just so fun over the course of his leadership of the North March. I really enjoyed him. Now, Malon the Merciless obviously was born a genius thanks to his mother's side, so that was kind of the Targaryen, maybe, you know, Valyrian blood within him. He was a skilled fighter, brave, humble though, ruthless though, selfish, cruel. He was kind of a mix. Definitely merciless, but he was definitely kind of a man of valor. Not an honorable man, definitely not that, but he was a man of valor. You know, I can imagine people looking up to him, wanting to be like him. He was a badass, very good at intrigue. He knew how to play the games, and again, that was very useful to the Reach. But as time went by, as we remember, he went against the Reach. He had a lot of, you know, bashing heads when it came to the Tyrells and stuff, which obviously led to his death. Died in battle against Elias Tyrell, the Swift Rose, yeah. Kind of for, you know, even though he was quite humble, he was ruthless, he wanted more. And he always wanted, obviously, to go for more, so this made him butt heads, especially when the Tyrells took the Iron Throne. This kind of pushed him to kind of want to, you know, he was humble, but he always felt that he deserved a lot more sometimes. And when he was passed over and things kind of came to a head, the Tyrells were always wary of him. To begin with, though, I don't think he really would have gone for the Reach, but he was kind of pushed into it because the way the Tyrells were just scared of him. You know, Elias Tyrell was so scared of him. If I remember correctly, wasn't this the one where he, like I say, my memory is quite shady, but if I remember correctly, he imprisoned us like twice, I think, and both times we fought our way out. I think this is the one. He was such a bad. He fought his way out in tribal combats twice himself, even when he was an old man. I mean, 78 years old, and he was still a badass. Dying on the battlefield, I mean, I don't think you could ask for anything more. He died where he belonged, really. Great man. And obviously this was also the one where we were married to Tanya, the Big Oak. This is... he definitely, you know, this is why I like Malon the best. He just had so many storylines with not just himself, but the people around him, with the Tyrells, his fighting out of jail, his wife, and the kind of animosity that we had towards each other, but we kind of had this angry passion, you could say. We had many daughters, and only one son who died as a stillborn, probably because of her. She made us not be able to get our inheritance for our children. It was just such an interesting kind of relationship they've had. I've not had many relationships like that. And even in his old age, he also turned to Roller. He also turned to Roller in his old age. I don't think it lasted long, if I remember correctly. But look at all the daughters. And of course, before we look at his kids, let's look at his siblings. We had Delena Osgrey, married to the Durwells. This kind of cemented our relationship with the Durwells, and they were good bannermen for us for most of the time. She was strong, but a bit slow. She wasn't the smartest fellow, but you know, she was definitely she could look after herself. My brother, this was the line of Osgreys that we trusted them, but Martin Osgrey, the Crawler, always wanted more. You know, he's a giant, fruitful trained fighter, cruel, authoritative. He always wanted more, and so he got sent to the Night's Watch. I think he was one of the few Osgreys that got sent to the Night's Watch, underneath Quentin Tarth in the end. His daughter then, we didn't want to blame her for the sins of the father, but she ended up being exactly like her father and rebelling against us. And Malon actually, in the end, had to be the one to behead her. He actually had to... He sent his brother to the wall and had to behead his niece because of their rebellion. So he had to deal with quite a lot of different things in his time as being Lord of the North March. And obviously we had the fights with the Rowans. We almost killed off the Rowans as well. It was definitely an interesting time. And his daughters, we didn't really get to do much with them. Obviously, we married them off to different people, some for alliances. Some of them got kind of married off, I think, by my wife, if I remember correctly. Illyria didn't really get married to anyone. Died quite young. She died also quite young, 25. And she lived to 55, Milleria Osgrey, in the end. And that actually was quite an important marriage, as we can see there. She was obviously married to, yeah, we'll get into that in a bit. We'll get into it in a bit. But the important one for us was Lemore. Ah, Lemore. Thinking about what could have been. Lemore Osgrey. Look at these stats. She was the perfect child. The perfect child. She should have been the lady of the North March and more. She was a genius. She was strong, ambitious, just, ruthless. She would do anything. She would have been a great character. Sadly, though, she was taken before her time, hanged by those heathens of the Mountain Clansmen. Obviously, that led us to kind of getting more... I mean, obviously, the marriage of her... She had kind of a couple of marriages first to Lord Paramount Hagon Greyjoy, so, you know, the Iron Storm. Very capable man. Their marriage, I imagine them two together. Obviously, it was a normal marriage, which we didn't want, which... kind of led to his suspicious circumstances. Won't go into that. But yes, sadly, you know, it wasn't meant to be, obviously. But then she got married to the future king of the Independent Vale. Two very good marriages for her, you know, considering she was an Osgrey. Galbin Arryn. Now, this was a matrilineal marriage. We were able to get that, thanks to the fact that we managed to get a sneaky little marriage to Galbin, due to the fact he was being educated somewhere else at the time. So that was good to us. So it kind of became kind of a side thing. We suddenly got entangled with the Arryns, which made sense because, you know, we did want to become more independent, and the Arryns, you know, were independent. And obviously, yeah, it was a real good marriage for us. Very sneaky one. But Lemore, in the end, had 3 kids of him. Judea Osgrey, who got married to a Graceford. Again, I think that marriage got taken from, so we couldn't marry her. Wendell, who actually in the end married my his sister, Milleria Osgrey, who was the sister of Lemore. So he married his aunt because she was a genius, you know? She was a young girl at the time. She was a genius. It attached us to Malon. You know, she was the closest thing that we had to a Lemore. She was the closest thing, you know, like, she was kind of the second... She was a discount Lemore. A genius, but a discount Lemore in the end. So let's look at Wendell then. Wendell, overall, you know, he actually became quite good. You know, he didn't have any... He wasn't naturally gifted, but his education, the way he worked for it, he pushed himself and he got some very good stats. Almost getting to the numbers of his mother, but obviously, you know, 26 intrigue. He didn't come close to that. But he was just, patient, ambitious, diligent, and chaste. He was the perfect man to be the first Osgrey king. Actually, you know, if he'd been the guy we are now, Mark, you know, his son, I don't think it would have been the same. Wendell was the wise, you know, he's the perfect man to be the king of the Vale. And that showed, you know, he lived for a long time, and he did a very good job at trying to stabilize the realm and keep it independent. He knew when he had to, you know, give up and do things he needed to do. A very good man. Married to Milleria, but then he also had a second marriage to Rhaella Sunglass, which obviously attached us to the sunglasses in the Iron Isles. Personally, I think he was a great Osgrey. You know, Wendell was great. He was exactly the man we needed, and he was not naturally gifted. So he was probably the Osgrey I respected the most Wendell would be the one. Probably the greatest Osgrey. Obviously, he's got an unfair advantage because he got to be king. But when it comes to which one I had the most fun with, and I had to tell the best storylines, I'd go with Malon. But obviously, him, Tristram, and Wendell, it's very hard to choose. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section. Who was your favorite Osgrey? Which Osgrey do you think is your favorite or the greatest? I'd love to know how you decide who is the greatest or who is your favorite. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Also, who do you think was the worst Osgrey? I think that's a bit harder to decide and might make a bit more polarized opinions, I think, in the comment sections. I'd love to know what you guys think about that. Obviously, Wendell had to obviously pass on from this realm. He wasn't invincible. And that's we got Aemon. Now, Aemon didn't get to do much. He kind of was the instigator to kind of stabilize the realm. Very good diplomat. He was kind of there for us to destabilize the realm due to the fact that his kids all got married off because, you know, Aemon obviously did control the North March and he kind of married off his daughters himself and not how we wanted it. So that was a shame, but thanks to him, you know, he was a good man. He did what needed to be done, and that led us to Mark Osgrey, who was able to get back the lands that were lost, in part because of Wendell, but we had what we had because of Wendell in the first place. So he kind of fixed the things that Wendell did not have time to fix. So I think Mark takes a special place. Obviously, we don't know how things would have gone. Maybe things would have gotten worse. But I think he would have been fine, because he's quite old at the moment. And then we have our siblings. Obviously, we have... Who was the first one? Mathos, who was inbred. We got quite lucky there with the inbreeding. Actually, in the end, only he was kind of a problem. Then we have Mern, who was a genius. Very good man there. It's too bad he wasn't higher up the line, because look at these traits. He would have been a good king, and obviously his son, John, he is basically the more reborn. It's a shame we don't get to play as those two, but that's the way the cookie crumbles in the end. That's the way the cookie crumbles. She's actually married to Moscow, who is the leader of Moscow clan, but yeah. So that was kind of like, actually that was quite quick. When you think about 60 parts, that wasn't much to go through. I'm sure there are things here and there I've missed. I'd love to know in the comment section, what was your favourite part of the series? What event or thing that happened was your favourite thing? Did you love Malon's kind of escape from his, jail? Did you like the fact that Wendell was able to keep an independent Vale during tough times? Did you like the Oosters, the fact that we actually managed to continue from where we were? Or did you like the brutishness of Tristram? What was your specific event that was your favourite thing that happened during the course of this series? Maybe you can think of one that I've forgotten. I'd love for you guys, if you could tell me any events that you know that you liked that I forgot, even if it wasn't your favourite, please tell me in the comment section. It would be great for me to be able to reminisce and go, oh yes, I remember that point. Because I did enjoy this series, but I think this is a good way to end it. The realms have just got so chaotic. Just thinking like, not even to do with our families, the events like when the wildlings invaded the north, they just spread out across the north, completely sending it into chaos. And everything to do with that. And obviously we had things in Essos got a bit weird as well, it has to be said. But overall things have been quite weird. And the Riverlands never recovered. The Riverlands has never been able to recover. Look at that. Most of it's controlled by the Rock. Seaguard controls quite a bit of it. I think so does the Crossing as well. So yeah, they've kind of been torn apart and just been spread out ever since the Riverlands was kind of taken down. Who controls Riverrun? Yeah, the Wildlings. A Wildling controls Riverrun, of course. Now, to end this, let's try and find a nice marriage for my son. Now, it would be nice to get an alliance with the Rock, but they won't form an alliance. I would love to marry her, but she won't do it. But maybe her sister? Probably won't, but she is attractive. No, of course they won't. So we're not going to find any assistance there. How about if I just click and see what choices there are? We could just marry Lady Sunglass. Because if she is a boy, it would be the heir to the Iron Isles. But she is also small. It is elective though, but it does give her a good chance if she has a son. It could. He won't be of the same thing though. The same people. They'll be Valemen, not actually Ironborn. So make it a bit difficult. There are a few different ones here. We could see there Martells, Starks. We could even marry into. If we look north, I mean, I think the Starks are independent in Winterfell. Yeah. She doesn't actually. She controls Last Hearth. Winterfell is controlled by the Hornwoods, but they are underneath the Starks. So it might be fun to try and get into the Starks here. He has 2 daughters. Arianna Forrester, technically, is her daughter. Though she won't inherit. Oh, Dos Colleen. Okay, yeah. So her daughter is set to inherit. We could marry her to my son. And they would accept. And she is huge. And it would allow us to try and... Again, I don't want to... I mean, it doesn't really matter that we're going to create horrible borders anyway. We want to get more places independent, get more allies. So it could be a good one. The neck actually would be quite nice. It's right next to us. And they're not in the war thing, so they are completely independent. We could marry that one to my daughter. Or to get an alliance with them. That could be good as well. Let's see what choices there are for my daughter. We got the voice that we could marry one of our bannermen. But I feel like we've got control of our bannermen at the moment. Let's see what matrilineal comes up with. Mountain clansmen. I spit on them. Oh, Cocklesbury. We could marry the Cocklesbury. Just because, you know, the hammer. Yeah. Let's see if the Reed would accept. I don't think he will. He would accept. So we could get an alliance with the Reeds. How many men does he have? 3,000 men. Or we could try and marry the bastard Cocklesbury. Seeing as we're going to end the series, I want to marry someone who I feel is good for her. I have no one in my lands. Is he in my court? I think he should be. Yeah. Lynn Cocklesbury. I like it. And we could do Matronino because he is a bastard boy after all. Lindstone. Now, again, I could legitimize him, which we probably would do. You know, let's give him a normal marriage. Let's do it for the work his father has done. And plus, my son's gonna get married, so his line he'll secure the line. We don't need her to get matrilineally married. This can allow him to get some legitimacy from his father. He was the only son of him. John the Shield of Hammerhall. There we go. Marry for the good service he's done to my very good fighter daughter. Now, for you then, I think the Stark Guild could be quite good. For you. Or the Sunglass, yeah. Stark or Ironars. I feel like, just to continue the series, I feel like the Ironborn, but they're not independent right now. And she's facing a revolt. She's always going to face a revolt, isn't she? That's always going to be a problem, I feel like. I don't feel like it's the best marriage. Maybe the Stark is the... I bet the Starks probably get as many men as she does. Yeah, the Starks get 8,000 men. Let's do it then. And she is a giant, so that's a good... She's not short. So that way, it's more like they're going to get some good traits. There we go. So Osgrey will marry a Stark, and my daughter will marry the Shield of Harrenhal's bastard son, to kind of in remembrance of him. But there we go. What an adventure! What a story the Osgreys were. I really enjoy. I've always wanted to do an Osgrey series just because the Duncan Egg novels, you know, always kind of put the Osgreys in a nice place in my heart. No matter what you think of the Osgreys, it's definitely a fun family to be. If you guys haven't tried that scenario, I would say to you to try it as well. It was really fun for me trying to rebuild the family. And we found greatness. And we found an independent realm of our own. The Mountain Lions. We can create our own tale. No longer with the checkered line, we're now the Checkered Mountain Lions. Protectors of the Vale against any intruders. With our lions from the west. We can defend each other forever. Hopefully. Hopefully we can keep that going. But I hope you guys have enjoyed. I've been NG Paradox, and this has been the Osgrey series. I really hope you have enjoyed. And I say I can't thank you guys enough for supporting series like this. Think about it, we're on the 60th part, and this series still gets many, many views. And it's all thanks to you guys. So again, I can't thank you guys enough. I know I say it all. I'm not sure. Sometimes I feel like I say it too much. But then again, sometimes I feel like I can't say it enough. You know, this channel wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't even be making these videos if you guys weren't here to watch. So I'm glad you guys do. I enjoy it. I'm glad I'm making something people can actually enjoy and take their time off, put their feet up, and maybe just make them smile. Or maybe just let them pass the time. Something in the background. That makes me happy. So I'll see you guys next time. And the Blackfyres and Targaryens will fight forever. But the Osgrey Mountain Lions will always stand true. I'll see you then. For the next series. I'm bad at ending series. Bye?